Out here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the Cologne Popfest, which is this year is going to be happening on the 4th and 5th of April 2025, featuring a lineup including Prolapse, The Simple Present, Fear of Men, Hello Darling, and Stuart Murdoch. So I spoke to the organiser, Christoph Menningen, to find out more about life, love, poetry, and all that other groovy stuff, and also his life in pop, indie pop, and how he became part or started to organise the Cologne Popfest. So, after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject that was the early formative years. Christoph, it's over to you.
It's my
Yeah, sorry.
the mic quality is okay for you?
Yes, it's absolutely fine. You know, to be honest, it sounds good. I've had worse, as you can probably imagine. But then sometimes you just think, oh, never mind. I know it's a bit annoying because, I was going to have a pen. I've cleared my desk and it's a disaster, actually. But anyway.
Same here.
This thing, I don't know, I've lost all my pens there. Anyway, look, so just as a background, because it's always interesting, because and you just kind of come across I've been following this with great excitement, the event that's coming up. Yes. So look, so I was born 1964, so I'm now 61, which is very freaky. So my early musical awakening in life was the glam world of Sweet Slade, T-Rex, Gary Glitter, obviously, Alice Cooper, Schools Out was amazing. But luckily, David Bowie's my first single and first love with Space Oddity that had the B-side of Changes and Velvet Goldmine. So I thought, wow, B-sides, they're just all going to be this good. So I've been disappointed ever since. So what was your musical awakening in life?
I guess the most important step in my musical way was changing classes in school when I was 16, I guess. I came to a new class with a punk band, and I was raised and lived on the countryside in Germany between Cologne and Frankfurt. So no subcultures, just boring youth. And then I came in touch with new friends at school. They all were listening to punk bands, to wave, and so I got in touch to new music. One day, a friend gave me a tape and said, "This would be your new favorite music." It was Hazel O'Connor's Breaking Glass soundtrack, and I immediately fell in love. And then we went to one indie club in Koblenz, little city at the Rhine River, and they played all the music I still listen to, from Ramones to bands like Galaxy 500, and I've got in touch with most of these bands at this club for the first time. And basically, my music taste didn't change that much since.
Yes, you've held it. So, what year was that? When did you say it was kind of 80?
Late 80s. I'm born in 71.
Right.
And I saw my first indie concerts was 17, 18 when I got my driver's license, and when I was able to drive to other places and see shows.
So that period, the late 80s, obviously the famous NME cassette had sort of been and gone in 86. The clue's in the title, isn't it? But yeah, so were you aware of that cassette and that kind of scene then, or was it just a bit later that you started to catch up on it?
Probably a bit later, in the early 90s, but I'm not sure anymore. My first big music event was a festival called Bizarre Festival, held at the Lorelei spot at the Rhine River. Very beautiful open air thing, with bands like Happy Mondays, Galaxy 500, Pale Saints, and I guess I saw two of these festivals in '89 and '90.
Right.
I guess I knew many of the C86 bands. I listened to shoegaze bands without probably knowing the term shoegaze.
Yeah.
And music magazines were not available in my place, and record stores in Cologne were a big influence, and probably I got in touch at any of these places, but I didn't read any of the English music magazines like many of my friends that I met later, who lived in Cologne and got contact or got places where they could buy these magazines.
Yes, absolutely. Because 89, 90, I remember that was when kind of, you mentioned shoegaze, which I didn't really know the term existed then. I don't know if it did actually. But anyway, there was a double bill, I remember, at the Norwich Arts Centre, and that had the Pale Saints and Lush were playing, which was quite a nice little double bill. At the time, we were a bit blasé. And then there was also, Galaxy 500 also played the Arts Centre around that same time. So there was a lot of those kind of bands happening. There was also the 4AD label was bringing out sort of bits and pieces like the Throw Muses and obviously the Pixies. And then before that, we had Dead Can Dance and various other, obviously the Cocteau Twins and this Mortal Coil. So, it was quite an exciting time. I think it was quite interesting because the indie pop world had for me, it was that kind of the years of the Smiths. I know I say it every time, but 83 to 87 was this kind of a chapter in our lives, which I was obsessed with, and all those bands around then, and then the cassette came out as well. I mean, though at the time no one wanted to be probably on the cassette. The June Bryants famously turned it down because they didn't want to be associated with it, who were probably the most indie band of that period. Regretted it ever since, really, because it became a very famous cassette and the best-selling NME cassette of all time, he says confidently. I think it was, from what Neil Taylor said to me many years ago. So that was quite good. So then you were just under 20. So when you got to that ripe old age of 20, which seemed ancient then, didn't it, in 1991, did you then sort of go back and start discovering the indie bands, or were you then going into the world that was going to become more like Britpop with, Elastica and Pulp and Oasis and I don't know, Dodgy, Supergrass. So were you sort of immersed in all of it, or was Britpop something that you weren't so excited by?
It depends. I was a bit complicated. I started listening to bands before my time, like Joy Division, and the early Smiths were way too early for me. And I fell in love to band after band, and I was really following them, like the Primitives. They became one of my favorite bands, alongside with the Darling Buds. I was a huge Lush fan, buying all Lush records in the little town where I was at university in Trier, in the very western part of Germany. They had a couple of good record stores, and I bought all Lush records as soon as they were released. But I didn't see any of their shows. During the 90s, when I was at university, music was extremely important, but concerts were not, which is I guess one of my worst mistakes in my life. Missing so many of my favorite bands. Lush and Pale Saints played Cologne somewhere in their short life, and I missed this one, and I missed so many other favorite bands. Fortunately, I saw most of them later with all these reunions.
Yes.
And I didn't miss Lush a second time when they came back. I saw everything from the first show at the Oslo club in London to the last one in Manchester. And so my Lush story has an happy end.
Well, yes, a kind of happy end with a slight twist, isn't it? Because I guess was the Manchester show then? This is 2016. To be honest, I'm reading the poster behind you, so I haven't got that much of a memory, have I? But it does sound good for the listener. But yes, had Phil left the band by the Manchester gig?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. The end of the band was something I didn't expect. The second, and I didn't expect the reunion. Then at some point, I guess Emma posted on Facebook asking for a modern band website, asking for a friend. And then I thought, oh my God, Lush are coming back. And then remembering all this stuff about now they said they would never come back. And but I really got excited. And before they really announced the website, they already had launched it. And there was a booker contact on site. And I thought, okay, let's try to put up a show in Cologne in case they really come back. This didn't work out, but I saw them on the reunion tour 5-6 times.
Fantastic. And were they on good form?
Yeah, they were excellent. I guess I missed them in the 90s, but I guess like bands like Slowdive or Dean Wareham from Galaxy 500 always says they were shit live in their active time. But nowadays, when he plays Galaxy 500 shows, it's excellent. And Slowdive were excellent each time live in the last years and getting better and better. And Lush were excellent too.
Excellent. My God, that's great. Your Lush stories, they're quite memorable. I think next year there will be the anniversary of the Lush reunions, which is an interesting story, which one day will be told. Yes. So what were you studying at university?
I was studying very boring business administration. So
did you ever come across a guy called Thomas somebody, a German chap who... God, I should have rehearsed this, shouldn't I? I did an interview with him, and he was one of those people who turned up in the very early 80s in London to see the television personalities. Was it? Oh God, who's the famous cult artist? Is it television personalities? Dan Tracy. He was obsessed with Dan Tracy, and he was at this gig, and he was just a very young fan, and met Alan McGee and met all these people. Obviously, they were all just fans, and no one knew what was going to happen next. And then he became sort of a booking agent for indie bands in Germany from the kind of the early 80s onwards, before then branching into another career a bit later. But it was just a fascinating and beautiful story of youthful excitement and, adventure, naivety. But yes, this kind of love of Dan Tracy led to these connections and him being the go-to promoter for sort of indie bands in Germany, I think. So, yes, McLeod, and I think he went into business studies eventually, realising that he needed to one day get a proper job, but I guess that's another story, isn't it? So then we had Britpop. Did that tickle your fancy at all? Were you excited a little bit by the sounds that were coming out? Or in America, we had the fantastic sound of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Marilyn Manson and Soul Asylum and Systems of Down, leading to Woodstock 99, a glorious weekend of peace, love and understanding, as we saw in the film. Did either of those things kind of excite you?
Britpop did, but I'm a bit ashamed, or not a bit, but very much ashamed that I preferred Oasis over Blur in the 90s. Nowadays, yeah, can't believe I did, but I was always more a fan of Pulp and James, and I got in touch with Pulp with the hit singles, not with the early stuff. I was not that much into this kind of music, but with all this big 7 inches, I fell in love with Pulp. But James was always the most important of these bands,
Yes.
even if they are not one of the typical Britpop bands. But I always loved James.
Yeah, they were the sort of, well, they were in the early 80s or mid 80s at least, weren't they, being supporting people like the Smiths. And yeah, some of their early singles were kind of fun and exciting. No one really realised they were going to be quite who they became. Whereas poor old, the Mighty Lemon Drops and Primitives and Darling Buds, they sort of gave it up by the Britpop period. I think they'd had
Yeah,
enough, hadn't they, really?
yeah,
Which
and
is understandable, really, after being in the back of a van and releasing albums and all that malarkey, thinking that we need to get a real job as well.
absolutely. And then in my memory, grunge killed the other of my favorite bands, like Galaxy 500. I was never into grunge, and all this rock stuff didn't catch me in any way. So all these, I guess I know one song from the bands you mentioned, from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I guess I know one of their songs and nothing else. I didn't have any metal records in my collection. Yeah, that's a very pop influenced life so far.
Did you get into sort of European sort of indie bands like from Sweden? There seemed to be quite a scene. I've been doing interviews with members of like a band called Easy, which were fantastic. And there was I think there was a few German bands. I mean, there was a band called Malaria from
Yeah,
Berlin
yeah,
who were
never
very
excellent.
popular.
Yeah.
Um,
In my opinion,
oh, and obviously Exmar Deutschland. Did they sort of not sort of float your boat?
they did. Many of these bands did. But my favorite German band of all time probably is Ideal.
Oh, yes.
They were part of the so-called Neue Deutsche Welle, New German Wave, which was a movement in the early 80s. And they got a lot of TV airtime. Many of these bands had just funny little songs, and but Ideal was a German wave band. They were absolutely brilliant, and unfortunately split very early, and they never did a reunion. So they are probably on top one of my I'd love to see them once list, followed by Elastica. These two are the bands I would really love to see once, but I guess both won't happen.
No. So what that band you mentioned, did you say EDR?
Yes, Ideal from Berlin, and two sisters called Humpe were part of the band, and yeah, I really love them. A song you really have to listen to is Blaue Augen, Blue Eyes, or Berlin. There's so many good bands.
Oh, right. I'll have to. I'm just excited by this. This kind of information that I'm sort of getting, but I haven't located it now.
I'll send you some links.
Yes. Who were the sisters?
The name of the sisters is Humpe, Humpe.
Oh, I've got it. Ideal. Yes, I've got it. Right. Okay. Well, yes, I'm always curious about these things, but where are they now? Interesting fact. So that was the 90s. You went to university, got that, was still a fan. So then the O years, and sort of how does this then sort of merge into there was obviously you've got your career and job. Then how do you then sort of manifest the world that is the Cologne Pop Fest?
It started with getting back to see bands live. I guess in 2003, perhaps, with bands like Interpol.
Oh, Radio. There was a band called Radio 4 as well, wasn't there? Which I thought were
yeah,
superb.
and many all these other these cool British bands.
Was there Arcade Fire? Were they around that time as well?
And
Wasn't there?
They played the venue we do our Popfest in Cologne, the venue for 450 people, and I saw Arcade Fire. I guess in 2005,
Superb.
in this very small venue. It was one of the top 3 shows of my life. It was so wild and really amazing. And this changed a lot in my musical world. And together with a friend in France, a German friend, my oldest friend who lived in France with his wife, I tried to remember the shows we saw with 17 and 18, and our memories really faded. And so we said, okay, we have to do some kind of this blog thing, and write some memories about concerts we see now.
Yes.
We won't forget them. And so the 2 of us started a blog just about concerts in 2006. And he wrote concert reviews from Paris. I wrote concert reviews mainly from Cologne. And the audience of this blog was us 2. It wasn't meant to be read by anyone else. And then we got some comments from strangers and thought, oh my God. Nowadays, this blog has about 5,000 concert reviews. I'm not very active anymore, but this made me go to concerts even more because I got in touch with so many bands my friend in Paris told me about and said, this English band is great. You have to see them. They're coming to Cologne next week. And so I went to so many concerts and got in touch to a lot of other music or concert goers in my age that started going to concerts again after a while because of all those amazing new bands. And so I got in touch with my co-organizer Susanne from Cologne, who is a very huge fan of Sarah Records, and she completed her collection of Sarah's 7 inches a couple of years ago, and she introduced me to indie tracks. And I guess in 2013 I've been to indie tracks for the first time. And I said, okay, that's the best festival ever created, and I don't want to go to any German festivals anymore. This is paradise on earth. Perfect festival, perfect bands, perfect lineups, and until they stopped doing their festival in during the pandemic, I guess. I've been to every indie tracks, and I got in touch with so many people, so many bands. I met musicians. I got in touch with many new favorite bands, And
So Indie Track started 2007, didn't it? And then it got going 2008, and then onwards it was just awesome. So it was kind of a combination of mostly new indie bands and a few old faves, wasn't it? God, that was really. And this is in Derbyshire, so you just you didn't have to put a tent up, did you?
No, we were too old for tents.
Oh,
and
horrible.
they had a couple of hotels not so far away, I was. That's my second biggest mistake, not going to indie tracks earlier than my first indie tracks. But it was just a musical paradise. And
well, absolutely. Did they just have one stage? What was it like at that stage?
They were took part on a railways museum, open air museum. So there were hundreds of railways and from the Midlands Railway Company or whatever. And there was a main stage outside and another in one of these railway garages.
Yes.
And a small church with a church stage. And the most important area of this festival was the merch tent, because all the bands sold their 7-inch they got, or their mini CDRs. It was so nerdy. It was really lovely. And
yes, well, that's lovely.
Many of these bands they booked didn't have any release when they played indie tracks, and they became our new favorite bands. And
that's a fantastic line. Yes, I can see. I mean, there's a lot of love and care, and yeah, you could. It was just everybody who was on the scene was there, weren't they? Basically.
Absolutely.
So, what was your first one that you went to?
The one in 2013.
Right. So
I guess with Alo Darlin, and
there was on that one. There was the Brilliant Corners and the Pastels were playing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Abyss, The Wake.
Yeah.
So that was quite good. And then after that, yes. Oh, so you had on 2014, you had Dean Wareham, who was there, and the Chills. Oh,
yeah. So many bands.
So many bands.
Possible to see in Germany, or really hard to see in Germany, and they were all there. And the audience was perhaps 70% music nerds and 30% musicians that didn't play indie tracks that year, and was amazing. And then I fell in love with that kind of English music events, and we went to a couple other things. And in, I guess, 2017, we went to the last festival of Fortuna Pop in London.
Right.
Fortuna Pop let all their active bands play, I guess, 5 or 6 venues in London. And on the very last day, we were sitting together, a couple of German friends, and one of our friends said, it's a shame they stop Fortuna Pop. We have all jobs, and we could afford losing a bit of money. Let's do this label, or let's do a label and continue a bit of this, what Fortuna Pop did.
Yes.
And then my friend Susanne said, no, we are not doing a label, we are doing a Cologne Popfest. And on the same night, we booked our first band, a chorus girl from Cologne, or from Germany and England. And on our flight back the other day, we spoke about the design of our first festival poster. We hadn't done anything like this before. And some months later, we did our first Cologne Popfest in 2018 in a small venue in Cologne.
That's amazing. 2018 was the first one.
Yeah.
God, and did you sort of, obviously it must have been pretty successful. You're still doing it, but did you get quite a nice buzz from it? Because I know when you organise something, it's a little bit different to when you're just a punter, because there's suddenly the responsibility of the holding it all together. And yes,
It was really fun, and we sold out the first one very quickly, and the most exciting thing was speaking with only favorite bands. Our concept was really easy. We'd love to bring our favorite bands to Cologne.
yes,
That would never play Cologne because no one would book them, and it's strictly non-profit. We don't want to earn anything. The money, all our earnings should go to the bands.
yeah,
It's necessary if you book bands from other continents coming to Germany or from England nowadays. So there would be no chance to earn any money if we really wanted to. But we just said, okay, it's a perfect way that our audience sees our favorite bands and likes our concept. And the first one, we had German indie pop legends Throw That Beat in the Garbage Can, who were reunited since half a year before.
yeah.
Or a couple of years earlier, they reunited, and they just wanted to play 2 shows. And then we said, okay, perhaps you'd love to play our little new festival, and they did. And this was amazing. Then a Cologne band that hadn't played in 20 years did a reunification for one day for our show, which was excellent too. And then we had Frank and Walters and a couple Pop-in Jays.
Yeah, the Poppinger, which was superb, and also a band that I was listening to quite recently. When is it? Nadar Became Punk.
Yeah, from Spain. They're so good. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I don't know how I sort of found them, but I just remember there was a period where I was just sort of, I think I was following someone's blog, and he seemed to have a very good taste in music. And he seems, I sort of keep an eye on his kind of latest monthly kind of top tips, and I think that was where I sort of found that particular band. Yeah, God. So that was a success. Did it sell out?
It did sell out, but it was a small venue, so there was a risk when we did this for the first time, but the risk was not too big.
Yes.
But just a venue for 200 people. So
was it a nice vibe?
Sorry?
Was it a nice vibe? Did you feel like you created the essence that you wanted?
And even in the first year, we sold a lot of tickets to people from abroad, which was strange for us because we didn't expect to sell tickets to people from Belgium or from other countries. But it was amazing because we really reached that bubble of people that went to indie tracks and to shows of Heavenly in London and to all those concerts. There's always a kind of international bubble traveling to these things, and we had a lot of visitors from this bubble, and we were so happy and lucky to have such an international audience because these people came not because of an event. They came because they wanted to see our bands.
Yes.
Something that was and always is most important. We don't want people to come for one special band. we want them to see them all, because any of these bands is one of our favorites, and it's not just something we say easily. It's our booking is a bit complicated because we get so many offers from booking agents. We have an excellent band from there and there, and we always say thank you very much, appreciated. But we are a bit special because we have such a long list of favorite bands, and we want to book them. And if the agents say they're not on tour, our standard answer is, yeah, we know that they are not on tour, but we don't book the bands that are on tour. We book the bands that we love, and which makes things sometimes expensive, sometimes complicated, but we don't want to have the lineup of any other German festival. We want our favorite bands. And
basically, you're carefully curating a festival for your own enjoyment and hoping other people come along, which is, I completely get it, because if you're going to put it on as a form of love, without getting too huggy, it's not about sort of looking through who's on tour, flicking through the pages, go, oh yes, we'll book them, oh we'll book them, oh we've made a festival, you want to do it because you love it. And I think that probably comes through for your followers, knowing that actually this isn't just a slight money. I mean, people aren't going to possibly do it for that much money, but it's not just a commercial thing, is it? It's done for the right reasons of indie pop, which is always good.
We hope so, yes.
So that was 18. Then obviously, 19. Was that, or what were your bands for 19, actually, just as a curiosity?
19 was the moment my 25-year-old version would really have loved to go to, because we had my old favorite band, The Primitives.
The Primitives. Oh, Tracy.
Yeah, and this was usually we personally know the musicians that play our festival. One of our other rules is we don't book any arseholes. Sorry for the.
No, absolutely. That's always good to put that on the contract.
We just want to book nice people. We want to have a nice vibe backstage too, and
yes.
And we are not professionals in organizing stuff like this, so complicated people would really make things difficult for us. So, there are so many musicians we met at all these festivals and concerts that are really lovely people. So why not booking mainly lovely people, which makes things so much nicer. And the Primitives, the booking went via their agent, and we didn't get in touch with them personally before the show. So greeting them was really a moment where I was really nervous. When Tracy left our minibus, first thing I saw were golden shoes, and I said, "Oh my God, this could be really, really great, or perhaps not so great." Then there was a guy who didn't have a ticket for a festival, but he was an autograph hunter, waiting for them to get his old Primitives record signed, which was strange for me too, to see at our own festival someone who came to see the stars sign his records. It was lovely, and then the band, they were so down to earth. There was so nice people, and in my musical world, the Primitives are superstars, and always superstars. And It was beautiful to speak to them, and having so lovely people headline our concert, and seeing their amazing songs in our small venue was a dream coming true. Was excellent.
Yeah, I
And
think they had that. Is that the point where they'd slightly reformed and had done a single on? Was it Spin? I seem to remember there
yeah,
was.
no, I guess it was later. This Spin. I guess they reformed for a charity reason, because one of their members had died years before.
Yes, I seem to.
I
This is all
remember.
very. It's all very in the distance, but I do remember they hadn't. This is from memory. They hadn't spoke to each other, but then they went to a funeral, and they all looked at each other in that slightly beautiful kind of sad way, I suppose, and thought,
Yeah,
oh, here we are again. Gosh, isn't that strange? That's it. And then obviously, I think, yeah, I seem to remember a single called Spin, which just sounded like classic kind of indie pop, which I think around that time was just things like coming out on Bandcamp. But I'll have to do the research later. But anyway, that must have been a fantastic one, getting such a superstar. I saw them around the same time when they did the single Crash, because I remember John Peel playing some of their early singles on the Lazy record label, thinking this sounds good. And yes, it was a good time for sort of, power pop, really, wasn't it? So then 2020, was that when, had you planned?
We were.
And did you then have to pull it all?
Yeah, we had planned it for the last weekend of March, and we had to stop everything a week in advance. And the development, first the speculations about events not taking place. Then we spoke about how to keep the distance in the venue, and it was really difficult times, and the city of Cologne still allowed to do events till late March 2020, and we thought, okay, probably could be a good idea to wait for an official stop, to avoid perhaps getting in financial trouble, and if we just stopped it early. And then we said, no, our guests come from so many other countries.
Yes.
And it's we can't wait for someone to forbid it, and we have to stop it. And one of our bands for 2020 were Pale Lights from New York. They had to cancel 2 weeks earlier, because they said the risk is too high. Even As We Speak from Australia should have been our headliners in 2020. They said we won't make it because it's probably we will be stranded in Europe and not allowed coming back to Australia. So the days before our cancellation were really busy, and then we stopped it, and we agreed as organizers to do the next one as early as possible, but it must feel safe for anyone to go to concerts again, and so we had to wait for 4 years. The next one was last year. The concert scene in Germany took really some time to normalize again.
Yes.
Even larger bands had to cancel tours. Bands that never cancel any show had now to cancel tours in 2020, when people tried to restart the concert life. So we said it's too early for us. And so we started in 2024 again.
Right. Well, I'm not surprised because, God, it was strange. It was because I do remember doing an interview with somebody in 2020 in America who'd sort of got their year plan. They'd been working a year on the album, released it to do the tour, to pay the bills and sell the record. And it was like suddenly, and he was sort of traumatized at the time. It was very strange. But then, yeah, so 24 last year. So you had one of my favorite bands in the 90s, My Life Story, playing. Jake, who was just a darling and such a nice chap. And then you had the Pale Lights as well, and Blue Boy, who must have been a bit of a scoop, really, at that time.
My Life Story should have played the 2020 edition. And the contact to Jake and Jake's booker was so nice. And when we had to stop the 2020 thing, Jake wrote to us and in a really nice way and said, we'll do it later. And this was from someone from a band like this was really great and helped us with our motivation doing another one. And as usually, I missed most of My Life Stories show at our Popfest because I'm too busy and not quite enough to see all bands.
Yes.
But people were really happy, and the songs I saw were amazing, and there was so much energy on stage. And Jake is really such a lovely person, and yeah, it was great pleasure having them. And Blue Boy, they played a Rough Trade East, an acoustic show, a couple of months before Popfest. And when we saw the videos, we said, okay, we must have them. Okay, it's just the two acoustic, but it sounds so amazing, and we want them to be part of our Popfest. We always try to get a C86 or a Sarah Records band.
Yes, well,
if possible on our lineup, and Blue Boy were really, really lovely, and many of our guests came just to see Blue Boy, and
yeah, because at that time I suppose they hadn't done a lot, had they? And I think with a lot of bands, I mean, the Chesterfields were another band who often, I mean, had sort of thought, well, we're split up. Davey sadly passed away, but then they've started to come out the woodwork, and I think they had a project to do and an album during lockdown, which is great. And then Simon Chesterfield has done a solo album, so it's I think a lot of people are just beginning to feel, actually, let's just go and do it because we're in our 60s. Let's get the guitars out again and make music. So that must have been brilliant for them, actually. So was that a kind of a happy success in both, culturally, but also you broke even.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a higher risk because we after COVID we changed our venue. The old venue with 200 with a capacity of 200 was too small because all the costs was so much higher than before the pandemic. So with selling 200 tickets wouldn't allow us to book 8 bands, and so we had to find a larger venue and to be able to sell more tickets. And we sold out the two Popfests that happened in 18 and 19, and the one that was cancelled in 2022. So we thought, okay, more than 200 should work. But the only venue that was perfect for us in Cologne was a venue of 450. So we more than doubled our capacity, and we sold it out last year, which was a big part of it. The Shout Out Louds from Sweden were responsible for this. They're huge in Germany.
Right.
They usually play venues for 800 or 900 people and sell them out. And they wanted to play their first album in the venues or the venue size they played 20 years ago. And so our offer came at the exact right moment, and we were there was not much risk because we thought, okay, or we were sure if Shout Out Louds come to our festival, we will sell enough tickets to have a full or sold out venue, and this really turned out well, and gave us a chance to present some of our other favorite bands, like an excellent band from Greece, Tatoi Boy, an audience of 450 people that would never have had in Germany if we did a single show for them.
Yes.
Now they played before the Shout Out Louds in front of 450 people, and they loved it, and band and audience, and yeah, this was amazing. This was really a great night, and then we had the very, very good English band Jetstream Pony with Beth from Aberdeen and
Yes.
many other bands, and Sean, the first drummer of Wedding Present as guitar player. They were amazing too. It was a great weekend, and the really crazy part is that we last year we sold tickets to people from 12 countries. So we had people from the US coming to Cologne to see our bands, which is so crazy for us. Even for us, people traveling to other countries to see bands. But if other people do it, we think, well, that's crazy.
Yes, it is quite. So that obviously was, quite a big step. So 25 then, you obviously still got your enthusiasm. So what's the lineup for 25?
25, there are two of our booking dreams coming true. One is Allo Darlin. They have played Cologne a couple of times, but they didn't play for perhaps 8-9 years before they did 3 small shows in Ramsgate and London in November 23, and we got in talks with them, and we always wanted them to play Cologne Popfest, and they will headline this year's Popfest. Then we have Fear of Man from Brighton, a band I really love, and they will play their first show since 2018. And we were speaking with them from our first Popfests planning on, and it didn't work out. And now they are coming. Then Stuart Murdoch from Bell and Sebastian will do a book reading session and playing acoustic songs, which is personal dream coming true for me as a big Bell and Sebastian fan.
Oh, quite.
I guess we won't be able to book Bell and Sebastian at any point without winning any lottery, but having Stuart Murdoch is a good first step.
Oh, yes.
And then we have Prolapse from Leicester, which they really surprised us. We saw them in Paris last fall, and we didn't expect such a brilliant live show. They did a couple of Peel sessions, and
yes, because they came out last year on the Precious Recordings of London, didn't they? There was those kind of that label that a guy called, I think, Neil, who brings out these sessions from John Peel, Janice Long, and even Andy Kershaw, I believe. So yes, so they're back and happening, aren't they?
Yeah, they have played Germany just once, I guess, in 1994, and this is a second time in Germany. And they were brilliant in Paris last fall. It was amazing, something greatness we didn't expect, and exactly the band we love. So much energy on stage, so many hits. Was brilliant. We immediately started talking to them about booking them for Cologne Popfest, and one of their members saw one of our tote bags with Cologne Popfest on it and said, "Oh, I played there." We said, "Okay," and he played in as a, I guess, guitar player at our very first Cologne Popfest with MJ Hibbett and the Validators.
Oh yes.
And he's Prolapse's drummer since the beginning, and so he had a Cologne Popfest history, and we didn't see him on stage in Paris because he was behind his drum set, and it was a big hello, and we are really happy to have them in Germany for the first time. And the final band is this year will be just a one-day Popfest. The final of our five bands this year is a jangle pop band from Stuttgart. Two English teachers. The band, therefore, is called The Simple Present. And I saw their very first show ever in southern Germany in November. And they do exactly the music I love. And later this year, they will release the first music on one of the finest new German labels called Kleine Untergrundschallplatten, Little Underground Records in Augsburg. They release records from Pale Lights and the great German band The BVs.
Oh yes.
And the Simple Present will be on this label and play their biggest show so far at our festival.
God, that is such a nice kind of vibe. That is a one-day fest this time. So, and because obviously this is all happening next week. So has it sold out or is it selling out?
Not yet, no. It's getting harder and harder to sell out shows in advance in Germany. We are missing a big, more mainstream name this year compared to last year. But we sold a lot of tickets, and once again, many tickets to people from abroad. There are again people from the US, many people from Britain, from Greece, from Spain coming to our Popfest, which is a really great honor. And there will be a big party and hopefully exactly that kind of event we would love to visit and see bands we fall in love with.
Yes, well, absolutely. Well, I just really hope it all kind of just gets there in the end. I know it's always a bit hard work for promoters, really, isn't it? You're probably glad it's not your day job, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I guess if it's your day job, you lose your enthusiasm and at some point, and we don't. And um, getting answers from bands we are trying to book, and getting confirmations from favorite bands is still the greatest thing. And I guess if you do it as a job, then it's more business, and yeah, the excitement gets lost, I guess.
Yes, well, I could imagine you probably become quite cynical, really, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
and for us, it's doing the decoration, working with our excellent illustrator. This is so much fun, and yeah, it's still the same feeling as 8 years ago when we started thinking about doing this Popfest. And yeah, it's our list of bands we'd love to book. It's still very long, and I guess our lineup for next year is nearly complete.
is it?
We
God, who have you got for next year?
you can't
You can't
reveal.
tell, but already it's kind of there.
We have we had a lot of bands that unfortunately couldn't make it this year. But they said, we'd love to play next year. And we said, okay, yeah, let's do this. So I guess booking will be not too hard for next year. And yeah, from time to time there are new bands coming to the scene. And there's so many of these old bands that are so good, and that have to play our festival once. Close Lobsters, coming back to C86, played our second.
Yes, I know. That was very exciting.
It was so good, and there was so nice people. Um, yeah, having bands like this at your festival is exciting.
And that is the end of the interview. A massive thank you to Christoph for giving me the time for that. Talking about Cologne Popfest, which is happening at the beginning of April 2025. Plans for next year, which is very exciting. This has been the C86 show, David Eastaugh. If you want to contact me, you can on any of the social media platform sites. Just do C86 show. And all these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes and Podbean. It's true. Have a great week. Stay safe.